I just want to speak the name of Jesus.
A man was going on a journey, so he called his servants and entrusted his wealth to them. To one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, and to another 1, each according to his ability. Wendy and I started our family by having twin boys. That's what you call diving in at the deep end. When the boys were in grade 2, a boy called Michael in their class developed brain cancer. He had all the treatments, so he lost his hair, ended up with that awful pallor and sunken eyes, so sad to see in a child. But the children never mocked him, because they had a marvelous teacher. One day the boys came back from school wide-eyed and told us, "Teacher says Michael has found his gift from God. He's an artist." That teacher understood that if someone has a sense of purpose, even a child, they can face almost anything in life. And she knew that a sense of purpose often arises from our talent. And a year later, Michael died with a sense of purpose. And by the way, that teacher had a sense of purpose, a calling, and a marvelous talent. Now in the parable, one servant had 5 talents, one had 2, and one had 1. But no one had none. Every one of us has a talent we can use to the glory of God. Now, I don't think Jesus only meant gifts and abilities, although he mentions those. A talent is anything we have in our life that we could use to the glory of God and the benefit of others. Now, the parable ends with a very severe warning against burying your talent. Notice how the man who buried his talent ended very cynical in life, cynical also towards God. And his punishment is as severe as anything Jesus ever said. Cast him to outer darkness, where there will be wailing and gnashing of teeth. I knew of an enthusiastic young preacher who was preaching on the wailing and gnashing of teeth, and he let his congregation know, if you haven't got teeth, teeth will be provided. But it's a shame to bury your gift. But the positives in this parable outweigh the negatives by 2 to 1. Notice the wonderful joy and reward that these 2 men get from using their talents well. And notice that they get the same reward, even though the one did a lot more than the other, because he had more ability. They get the same reward. And notice how they used their talent. They used it to multiply. I like the psychology of Erik Erikson, who said at every stage in life there's a work that we have to do. And the work of the over 60s is to accomplish generativity. In other words, to put into the next generation all that I've received. And when we do that, it's a witness to Jesus. Sometimes I think we have too narrow a view of witnessing. I used to cringe as a young man where at least twice visiting preachers asked, "How many souls have you led to the Lord in the last year?" I think that's unfair. It doesn't take gift into account. My grandfather had a wonderful gift. He used to go to town twice a week, 20 minutes each way on the bus. And he would almost always get into a conversation with someone about their spiritual life and talk about Jesus without giving offense. It's a wonderful gift. But I didn't share that gift, and that troubled me for a long time. Till I came to realize that when you take your talent and use it to the glory of God and the benefit of other people as best you can, that is a witness to Jesus. When I was quite a young pastor, an older woman in our church was dying of liver cancer. And right near the end, she gave me one of the most precious conversations I've ever had. She talked about a funeral. She said, "Andrew, there will be a lot of people from my work at that funeral. And I want you to tell them, I was never very good about talking about Jesus. I've always been better with numbers than with words. But please tell them that I did my work to the best of my ability as a witness for Jesus to them." There were a lot of people from her work at the funeral, and when I told them what Marion had said, I saw a lot of them with tears in their eyes and nodding their heads in agreement.
Unending love, amazing grace.